Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back today with a video on changing your card designs. Now I am not talking about when you first begin. This was a card that I had completely almost finished and then I decided I didn't like it. So I want to show you how I went about fixing it. So I'm starting off with the Fresh Bouquet stamp set from Inspired by Stamping. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. And it has this great bouquet of flowers in it where really all you need to do is stamp this on a card and you've got a great card. Color it in and you're good to go. So I am starting off with a 4¼ inch panel by 5½ inch panel. So an entire A2 sized card panel. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm actually using my Misty to do my stamping today. And I have my stamp that I'm going to place in the top left-hand corner. So I'm just positioning it to where it fills up that entire corner. It hangs off the top and on the left side a little bit, but that's the look I'm going for. I'm using Memento ink to stamp this. This isn't the tuxedo black that I normally use whenever I stamp my images and then color them in with alcohol markers. I actually wanted to go for a more vintage or rustic look, so I'm using Rich Cocoa, which is a nice brown ink, and of course your Memento inks do work with your alcohol markers. It doesn't have to just be the tuxedo black. So I'm inking this up a few times and stamping it down. Make sure I get my lines nice and solid. And then I had an oopsie on this card design before I even started. So I'm using my mini Misty. I did not think when I stamped this and it just wouldn't go all the way down towards the bottom. I didn't want to restamp it. So what I did was I actually took a piece of fun foam, put it right underneath where I was stamping that piece of paper. You don't want to put it over the pink portion, but then if you just stamp it down, it's made that paper kind of the same height as your pink layer, so then you can go ahead and get that fully stamped. Now I have a mask that I created from just plain paper. I did a little bit of painter's tape in like a loop on the back of it and stuck that right down over it. And this is just a quick way to get a mask if you don't have any masking paper on hand. This was one I had made up a while ago that I used with actually rubber cement, but I didn't want to do the whole rubber cement thing, so I just went ahead and put a little bit of painter's tape on the back and stuck it down. Now around this image that I've masked off, I'm going to be stamping a few of the images from the polka dot stamp set. I did that in a few different colors, and then I took the Summer Bouquet stamp set, the Birthday Wishes sentiment. I stamped that right in between the two blooms in that same Memento Rich Cocoa ink. So for my coloring, I'm going to be using my alcohol markers like I said before, and I think this is where my card design went wrong. So I picked out some colors that I thought would match that. I believe it's Autumn something, the ink. It's from Paper Tray Ink. I'll have it listed over on my blog. But that kind of mauve-y color, I picked out a few alcohol markers that I thought would match it. But as I'm coloring it in, I see that these are a whole lot richer. It really didn't go with the whole feel of the card. But I thought maybe it's just a few of the colorings that I'm doing here. Once I get it all colored, it will look much better. So I came in with a few like yellows and creams to color in that large hydrangea bloom right in the center, which I'm going to do here. This is very quick coloring, by the way. Not a lot of blending or anything going into this. And then I came in with a darker buttercream color and a little bit of tan right in the center on some of those as well. And then I'll blend that out one final time and really darken up those colors. Then I'm going to use those same kind of darker, really red, rich colors on the rest of the blooms in that stamp. Now you can see here that it is not looking any better as I'm coloring, but I don't like to waste supplies. And because I have design team projects that I need to get done and I have deadlines that I need to meet. So I don't like to waste my time either. So if I mess up on a card, I like to fix what I mess up. And that is something that I like being on design teams because of. Any other time, I probably just would have scrapped this card, called it a dud, and just went on and created something new. But because I have a limited amount of time to craft, because I have deadlines that I need to get things done by, I need to find the best way to utilize my time. So that means that I have really had to look for ways to fix cards instead of completely just scrapping the idea. So I went for some darker greens on those leaves too, as you can see. And also I'm going to bring in some lighter ones and a little bit darker in the center of the hydrangea leaves just for a more realistic look. Now this is where I stood back and I looked at the card and I'm like, man, I just really don't like it. So I have decided, or I have found, that if I don't like something, I go with my gut on it now, because there have been times where I haven't and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just me and I don't like it. And then nobody else likes it either. So I have found that if I don't like it, chances are nobody else is going to either. So I decided to go ahead and just cut those images out that I colored. I still really liked the way they looked and the way they were colored, so I cut them out, and then I used an alcohol marker, a brown one this time because I stamped in brown ink. I used brown around the edges of those cut lines to really finish it off so you didn't see any of the white. Now on this card base, I'm using some antique linen and my mini distress ink blending tool just to give it a little bit of color right in the top left and bottom right corners. I'm still going to keep everything placed the same, the cards. I just wanted to cut out those circles that I stamped. So I did a little bit of ink blending. It's a little hard to see in the video, but it does show up more in real life. And I'm also using an A2 top folding white card base, if I didn't say that before, then I am blending this on. I didn't do a whole lot, just a little bit, and if you really wanted to deepen that up, you could come in with a little bit of vintage photo as well. Then I pulled out that summer bouquet stamp set again, and this time I decided to go ahead and stamp the especially for you right in the center. I thought these 2 lines of words instead of just one really helped with this card design because it's going on the more simple side now. So I'd position those in, and I did position my flowers in where they weren't glued down yet, but I knew they were going to go, just for space holders. I used my Misty magnets to hold those in place, and then I positioned my sentiment right in the center on the right hand side, and now I can go ahead and stamp that down. And again, I am using that rich cocoa ink that I have used throughout this entire card. So once I had that done, I decided to pop up those flowers on the card base to give it a little bit more interest, because this is, like I said, a very simple card. So if it's simple like that, add a little dimension to your cards just to kind of spice them up a little bit. Then I lined up the top one on the left hand side and the bottom on the right hand side. And I also added a few drops of liquid pearls. This is the white opal. I'll list it on my blog, the exact name of it. But I put a few drops of that around that sentiment to kind of really tie in the more, I guess you could call this a romantic feeling card or something like that. But once I had that done, I was much happier with this design. I am so glad I changed it. And I wanted to share this process with you today because I know we all have those cards, and I want to encourage you to fix them rather than throw them away. That finishes it off for today. I'm going to leave you guys with a few pictures of the finished card. On the left side of your screen, you'll see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you over to my blog, where you'll find more information and the full supply list. And the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel if you aren't already. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!